Welcome to Learn Commerce PU online classes. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Hello everyone, welcome to Economics online classes. In the previous class we had discussed regarding the globalization, about meaning and related to the some concepts about the globalization, MNCs and how the MNCs are working. So let us look at the impact of LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. Three things we studied according to the new economic policy 1991. According to the new economic policy 1991, they given the economic reforms through the three main motives. One is liberalization, other one is privatization, one more is globalization. Under the heading impact this LPG, reforms of LPG. So let us see what are the impacts of this liberalization, privatization and globalization. So there are mainly two effects on the economy. One is said to be the advantage, other one is said to be the disadvantage. In the impact sense we can see positive impact and negative impact respectively. So let us look at what are the positive impact of LPG and negative impact of LPG means these reforms, economic reforms of new economic policy 1991, it given three main things to us, that is LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. So already we learnt what is liberalization, free from the direct control of government. So it is either the physical control or direct control of the government. Then privatization means we know that converting the or shift of public sector activity into private sector activity, that is said to be the disinvestment. Disinvestment in the sense discontinuing the investment in the public sector and investing that with the private sector, with the joint hands of private sector, that is said to be the disinvestment. So that we studied in the private sector. Globalization we studied. Globalization means opening up of one's economy with the world economy, conversion or integration or interaction of countries between the different countries economy. Let us look at what are the main effects of liberalization and privatization, positive impact and negative impact. The main intention of the liberalization, privatization, globalization is increasing the economic growth or development, achieving the development. There is a difference between growth and development, students. Growth is different, development is utterly different. So by the name we can say it is, by seeing it looks same, but there is a wide difference between growth and development in economics. So growth means we say end process, development means continuous process. Growth means end process, end process. Development in the sense continuous process. Development is continuous process. For example, you can give the example for growth oriented country USA. So development oriented country India. So by the example you came to know what is growth and what is development. So growth is final result. So already we achieved the growth, means then there is no further growth, this development is needed. Already we are in the final stage of development. So final stage of development is growth. To achieve the growth, whatever the continuous efforts were done by the people or economy, that is said to be the development. Development is the way to growth. Development is a path or way to achieve growth. So development is continuous process. For example, India, it is a developing country. So it try to develop day by day. So I will give the easy example of education. Education is a continuous process, it never ends, it is a developmental process. It builds the strong human, sound mind in a sound body. Thus education is the continuous process, thus it comes under the development. What is growth then? So education is development, means it is a continuous process. What is the end process? End process is growth what we achieved, that is GDP, means contribution of person after the education through the employment. He is going to increase per capita income, GDP and national income. Thus growth is the end process, final stage. Education I say that is continuous process. Thus there is a wide difference between this development and growth, students. So let us look at the main intention behind the liberalization, privatization, globalization. So main impact, there are positive impact is there, negative impact is there. Positive impact on our economy is economic growth. We achieved economic growth, it is because of LPG. That is new economic policy NEP 1991 given more importance to the economic growth, rapid economic growth, increasing the GDP growth rate, because GDP is the barometer or indicator of economic growth. So development of the economy always depends upon the GDP growth rate of the economy. If the per capita income increases, that led to increase in the GDP growth rate, production, employment, income, national income, everything increases. Thus economic growth increased. It is because of impact of liberalization, privatization and globalization. So new economic policy reforms 1991 increased economic growth. Our country achieved economic growth, that is a positive impact. Second one is foreign investment increased. So because it given importance to the foreigners to invest in our country through the foreign direct investment, MNC companies were built. So MNC companies also given importance to invest in the different countries. So this WTO established in 1995, it given importance to the replace GATT, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So this WTO came into existence and it also given importance to increase the multinational trade. Thus foreign investment increased. Foreign investment increases means it increases the foreign exchange earnings. So export increases. When the export increases, it provides us the foreign exchange earning. So our rupee is exchanged with the other country's dollar. Exchange of one country's currency with the other country's currency is said to be the foreign exchange. Thus foreign exchange reserves increased. Due to the increase in the foreign investment, foreign exchange also increased. Exchange of our currency with the other country's currency. So that led to the exchange of culture, exchange of thought, exchange of skill, knowledge, technology. Thus education, even movement of goods, service, people from one place to other place, what we studied in the globalization. Thus due to this new economic policy, imposition of liberalization, privatization, globalization, economic growth we achieved, then foreign investment increased, foreign exchange reserve increased, export of the country increased, international trade increased, international trade also increased, then competitiveness also increased. Competitiveness inside the country and outside the country means internal trade and external trade increased. Cooperation between the countries also increased. Competition among the countries in the world, increased. Different countries of the world. Earlier we are going to compete with ourselves within a country, within the different states. Now competitiveness increased among the countries of different countries of the world. Thus fiscal deficit decreased. What is the main intention of introducing the liberalization? Liberalization main aim is develop this reform in the field of industries, reform in the field of financial sector, reform in the field of the tax and other sector. Thus, due to reform in the financial sector after 1980s, you know that financial crisis happened. Financial crisis. So, big financial crisis happened after 1980s. So, to overcome from the financial problem, to overcome from this financial crisis and to maintain the favorable balance of payment, this LPG introduced. Liberalization, privatization, globalization. Thus, fiscal deficit decreased and it will be easy to maintain the favorable in the balance of payment. Expenditure should be equal to the revenue. Thus, inflation reduced. Inflation means you know that continuous rise in the general price level and fall in the value of money. So, that is too much inflation is too bad for the economy. It means too much money chase too few goods. Keynes says that inflation means too much money chase too few goods. So, for example, if you have the enough money in a bucket, you can buy only single item. So, too much money chase too few goods. ತುಂಬಾ ಹಣದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನು ನೀವು ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. So, that is too dangerous to the country like India, because already we are suffering from the lack of money, financial crisis, everything. Thus, it is better to make the reform, and after 1991 new economic policy, implementation of liberalization, privatization, globalization reduced inflation in the economy. Mild inflation is good for the economy. Too much inflation is bad for the economy. Mild inflation is the sign of economic growth. Too much inflation is the sign of worseness in the economy or underdevelopment. Thus, due to the impact of liberalization, privatization, globalization, there are many positive contributions in our country. That is, economic growth we achieved, foreign investment increased, foreign exchange reserve increased, international trade increased, export import increased, then export increased, revenue increased, competitiveness increased, fiscal deficit reduced, and inflation came to an end. Still now we have facing the problem of inflation, but due to the LPG its impact is less compared to the before 1990 or 1991. What are the negative impact of liberalization, privatization, globalization? Let us see. So, first main negative impact or demerit or disadvantages of LPG is neglect of agriculture. So, as we know that 80% of Indian people depends on agriculture for their livelihood, because India is the agrarian economy. Agriculture is the base for Indian farmers. So, they depends on agriculture for their food and all. Thus, they neglected agriculture. New economic policy NEP 1991. They never concentrate on development of agricultural sector. They given importance only to the importance to industrial sector reforms and service sector reform and international trade. So, they never thought about our own country and backbone of our country, that is agriculture. So, agriculture is backbone of economy. So, economic development depends on the agriculture in country like India, because most commonly 80% of the people they depends on the agriculture. So, they never look at agriculture and development of agriculture. Agriculture stagnation happened again after 1991, because new economic policy never given any reforms in the field of agriculture, never suggested single this reforms for the agriculture. Thus, neglect of agriculture you can highlight in the negative impact of LPG. So, foreign companies are tightening their hold over India's market. Again, if there would be a chance of foreign domination. So, if we given all the FDI, everything, foreign direct investment, MNC companies came to India and they established their own thoughts, views, English education, everything. Again, it is the fear of hold over India's market. They can control us, monopoly, because already we are going to see most of the foreign companies tightening their hold over Indian market. So, it is very one of the negative impact of LPG. Next is Spread of consumerism due to the introduce of LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization, given more importance to the spread of consumerism. So it is also not too good for the economic growth and development. Non-inclusive growth. Inclusive growth is good for the economy. Rate of growth never non-inclusive. Non-inclusive means they never including the Indian agriculturist, farmers or anyone, just given importance to the externals to invest in India, thus non-inclusive growth. It is very dangerous for our country. So we are going to develop other countries, income goes to other countries, and just whatever our people is going to get the just income that is not even sufficient to lead a life. That is said to be the non-inclusive growth. Growth is there, but it is not at all including our own country and our GDP growth rate. Jobless growth. So due to the introduction of LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization, it led to the jobless growth. So whatever the foreigners, they are going to invest in our country. So jobless growth means growth is there, but jobless growth. GDP increased, GDP, gross domestic product increased, but they use modernized technology. Due to modernized technology they used in the field of production. Thus growth we achieved, but jobless, unemployment increased. How? You may ask, how the jobless growth occurs in an economy? Yes, it is sure students, jobless growth occurs in the economy. It is because of modernization. Earlier what we can say, in the place of agriculture or industries, so whatever the 10 members were engaged in the working, in that place only one single machine can work. That is said to be the jobless growth. Growth we achieved, but we are unable to achieve, get the proper employment opportunities. It is because of technical growth. Next is ineffective disinvestment policy. Disinvestment policy means, as I said earlier, so discontinuing the investment in the public sector and hand over the whatever investment to the investment opportunity to the private sector. So but still now, so many of the companies or this disinvestment policy never effective, it is ineffective. ಈಗಲೂ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೂ ಒಪ್ಪುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವರು ನಡೆಸುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಡಿಸ್ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ. BSNL and you can see. So low whatever you can see in the mobile also, even low network. So it is because of negligence of the public sector, thus ineffective disinvestment policy. Investment ಅನ್ನು ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಅವರು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೊಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, because corruption is there in our country. So ineffective disinvestment policy also one of the negative impact of liberalization, privatization and globalization. Thus there are two types of impact on our economy from the liberalization, privatization, globalization. New economic policy 1991 introduced LPG. So positive impacts, economic growth we achieved, foreign investment increased, foreign exchange reserve increased, export and international trade increased, then competitiveness among the countries increased, fiscal deficit reduced, burden reduced, financial crisis reduced, inflation reduced. So means prices reduced, prices for the commodity reduced. Negative impact is it highly neglected agriculture. So foreign companies are tightening their hold over India's market. So it is fear of once again the British rule or domination. Spread of consumerism, non-inclusive growth, growth is there not including us, jobless growth, GDP growth rate increasing, technology increases, but human resource, plenty human resources are there in India, never utilizing them, that is said to be the jobless growth. Ineffective disinvestment policy, disinvestment policy not at all implemented effectively. So this is about the positive and negative impact of liberalization, privatization and globalization. Thank you for watching this video.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.